Thank you, Matt. Can you guys hear me well? All good. Okay, cool. First of all, thank you for the intro. I just want to add one more thing to that introduction, which Matt had. When we think about my major league experience, do not think about the money ball. That sexy stuff I did not do at all. I was more on the boring side. I was more on the business side of things. How do we grow the game of the baseball? How do you support our marketing teams, our finance teams, media, sponsorship, and all that stuff? So that was pretty on the boring side of things. So I wanted to do more on the sexy stuff, but couldn't do it. So let's get started. Okay. Sorry, is it moving? Sorry for that, some technical glitches.
Looks like it's not registering. Almost there. We did the restart. Let me leave the slideshow and come back into this. There you go. Now we're in business.
Is it working?
Do you need to go back to slide? There you go.
Okay, cool. So actually, I wanted to start by asking you all a question, but then Simon in the morning stole my question. I wanted to ask you all who are sports fans, right? But let me make a tweak. Who all are baseball fans here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hands. Not a lot, So
Try again.
I think I understand. The Oakland A's, they decided to ditch their fans and moving to Vegas, so probably that's why. Who all are cricket fans? Wow, I expected that myself as well, right? So it doesn't matter what game it is, right? There is a question which comes to my mind, which I want to ask you all as well. Again, one more question. What's that moment in the game, when the game is happening live, what's the moment you dread the most? Any ideas? That's what it is, right? That's what we dread the most, right? When your team get a bad umpiring call and you lose the match, or in worst case scenario, your favorite player, your star player gets his call, and then of course you end up losing the match, right? So, and we say that, we all are humans. We make mistake, but that wisdom, when the stakes are pretty high, or when your own blood pressure is pretty high, all that wisdom goes out of the window. And this is what happens, right? This is exactly what happens, The players are frustrated, the coaches are frustrated, the fans, they're frustrated as well. And the poor guy, umpire, now he's at the receiving end as well, right? When I was growing up, of course, I love cricket. How many times, I have to shut down my TV or just throw the remote because Sachin, he got a bad umpiring call, right? We just used to stop watching the game and then tell us, oh, cricket is not for me anymore. I'm not watching the game, right? I'm done, right? 5 minutes later, back again, TV is on and we're watching the game again, right? That's what fandom is, right? So, but the good part is we live in that era where we don't have to face those things, right? We have now AI-powered officiating, which is kind of taking care of all these kind of issues we have been facing for a long time, right? We have ABS in baseball, automated ball strike. We have DRS in cricket now. We do have VAR in soccer. We have ALC in tennis now. All these things, this is making life easy for everyone. Fans are happy, players are happy, coaches are happy, and end of the day, umpires, they're also getting some breathing room there, right? They can afford to make some mistakes here and there, right? But this is not the only use case which we are seeing in real life when it comes to sports from the AI side of things. There are many other things which is happening in the background, right? This is the most prominent case which fans see. They can experience live on the TV or on the field. But then there are so many things happening behind the scenes, which is AI is powering, which is actually changing how the fans now consume the game, how they actually engage with the game now. So game has evolved a lot, right? You can see from this visual in the past, how they used to use transistors. This is decades back. And now we have all these smartphones, these gadgets. We are going to watch the game. And we bring all this kind of a smartphone with us now. The fans, they are digitally savvy, right, nowadays. They're watching the game live. At the same time, they're taking pictures, right? They're taking videos. They're posting it online. They're posting it on Instagram. They're tweeting about it. Something funny happens on the field, immediately somebody takes a video, posts it online, it goes viral on TikTok, right? It's happening, and this is like, and it's not just kind of the social component of it, right? They are also like, engaging with the game itself. When you are watching the game live, sitting in the ballpark, they're opening their MLB app. They're going there and watching game day. It's like instant replay there. Clips are there. They want to relive these moments which happened literally 5 minutes back. They want to see those replays there, right? And guess what? Somebody hits a home run, and instantly you get a push notification on your phone. Hey, you can buy a jersey for that player, your favorite player there. Now they're doing shopping as well at the same time when the game is going live. They're placing orders on their phone. They're sitting on the seats and they're placing orders, and they are waiting for that as well. It's all digital. They're involved in the game. And the players who are not able to kind of go and watch the game live, they're actually watching it on MLB.tv. They are streaming that game, right? They're streaming the games on their smartphones. They're streaming the games on their connected devices, and even on their fridges. Those, come on, smart fridges, touchscreen fridges now these days. I believe that's too much. I think that's a lot on the AI side. I think that's an overdose of AI. But again, the key theme here is that the way the fan is consuming the game, it has changed drastically, right? And I think it has happened for good, right? And the results are there for us to see. These are some of the big numbers there, which I kind of like put in there when it comes to the baseball. We had a phenomenal season last year. Phenomenal. Like, it was a great year for us, overall. We had almost 70 million plus attendance. It's a record attendance since 2017. Even in 23, we crossed 70 million mark. Last year also we crossed again. So it's back-to-back 70 million plus attendance. That's a record. MLB.tv, right? We set a new record in 2023 with almost 12.7 billion minutes watched. We broke our own record last year with 14.5 billion minutes watched. And just think about it this way, I think if you're a little bit aware of the baseball, we changed the rules recently. And with the recent rule changes, the games have become more faster now because of the pitch clock there. Games are shorter now. It used to be on average 3 hours long. Now it's like 2.5 hours long. So we are almost saying 30 minutes. Even the games are shorter overall, but the minutes watched is higher. So think about this thing, we are making the game more stickier. So people are coming, watching the games, and they're sticking with the game. They're watching it for a long time. That's good for us overall. The last one on the right, that's huge. 46, we dropped the median age of ticket purchasers by 5 years. That's what all we need. That's what sports leagues want, more younger fans there. And all this is happening, of course, there are, as I said, there are a lot of things which is happening on the field, like rule changes, that's impacting all these numbers. This is happening in a more organic way because all these things are happening on the field. We had a great WBC, World Baseball Classic. Those who don't know about WBC, it's the World Cup of baseball, which happened in 23 after a 6-year gap because the COVID couldn't happen in 21. So that was a big kind of it provided a big momentum for us in 23 season, which kind of carried over in 23 and 24 overall, which helped. And then the players like Shohei, right? Judge, the popularity of these players are really pushing the game, right? But there is another side to the story as well, which we don't talk about much, right? It's the data and AI which is working in the background, which are driving these numbers, right? It's not just all these organic factors. It's the purposeful use of the data. It's the AI initiative, which is actually moving the needle for us. So, but what happens is that, when we see success, there comes the stress along with that, right? How do you sustain this success, right? How do you maintain it? How do you scale it? How do you grow it further there, right? That's what is happening with most of the leaders these days in the sports industry. I have been to many executive meetings in my time at MLB. I've talked to many of my peers, both at MLB, outside of MLB. I've talked to many sports leaders, attended many conferences. So these are the four big themes which comes out of that. This is the focus area for all the sports leaders these days. The first one, as I said, the current generation is totally different from the past. The way they think, the way they operate is completely different. They're not just kind of like, as I said, they're digital savvy, right? They are very, very focused on, how they want to consume the game. They want things like that. It has to be instant. They're like, hey, I'm watching the game live. I want to see the instant replay within 5 minutes on my phone when I go to MLB app, right? They're interested to see what is happening behind the scenes, right? What's happening in the dugout, right? Like, I love watching all the Rohit Sharma videos when he spoke to his players on the field, right? That some vision camera. I love those things, right? Fans love those things there, right? They want to see more of that content there. This is the thing which, kind of like all the leadership is thinking about, what we can do to kind of make them stick to the game. They have a very short attention span. How do we make sure that we don't let them go? We make them stick to the game, make them loyal to the game itself. The second big thing which is happening within the sports industry is about the game of revenue has changed completely. It used to be ticketing. Ticketing was the biggest revenue generator. It is for some of the leagues there, but a lot of focus has now shifted. Of course, it's not that we are leaving ticketing behind. Ticketing is there, but along with ticketing, a lot of focus around how we can use our digital properties like MLB.com, MLB app, Ballpark app, how we can uncover the monetization opportunities on digital properties there, right? We used to have in the past those sponsorship deals where the sponsor used to pay us a flat fee to put up a signage in a ballpark. But along with that, what we're also doing now is that how we can use these properties so they can buy media from us. We have MLB.tv. We show ads, pre-roll ads, mid-roll ads there on MLB.com, the homepage itself, the homepage banners there. How we can sell that media, the ad slots to the sponsors there and grow revenue for the company there. That's the big, big focus for us. So it's not about just, as I said, I hear this kind of saying a lot in one of the in meetings I attend at MLB. It's not about just filling the seats at ballpark now. It's all about filling the screens and the cards as well. That's all about monetization opportunities outside of that. The other thing is the main product which we sell, the game itself, right? We have to make sure that we keep on evolving that game. Of course, we have talked about the rule changes. We have made all those changes to make the game faster, more exciting. Bases are bigger, more stolen runs, more excitement for the fans. All that thing is happening. Smart officiating, we just talked about that. Apart from all those things, we're also focusing a lot on player. What else we can do for the player itself? How we can save injuries from happening to the players there. What else we can do, right? And also apart from the players and kind of making changes to the game to make it faster, how do we actually grow the game overall? Not just within US, outside of US too, right? We have all this event which is happening, the London event, the Korea series, the Tokyo series there. We are in kind of a conversation with BCCI. There is a natural kind of a synergy between baseball and cricket there. We're talking with BCCI, how we can use the infrastructure in India to kind of grow the baseball there, and vice versa, how we can support them grow the cricket in US as well. So all that kind of area about how do we grow the game, that's happening. And last but not the least, the theme for the event here, AI. It's not a luxury anymore. It's a mandate, right? That's what all the leaders, have been talking about as well. This is on their top of the list as well. I have been to those meetings in the past where I've kind of like taken a couple of slides to leadership. I've talked about certain POCs which you want to do, and they say, okay, yeah, just let's do that. Not anymore. We're not talking about POCs anymore. We have moved beyond the POCs. We are actually talking about the real value AI can bring to the business there, right? We're actually talking about how do we scale, how do we personalize, and personalize at scale, not just doing one POC there. So the good part here is that, we have data to support all these initiatives, right? With a more smarter data strategy and more kind of like smart approach to our initiatives, we can kind of tackle a lot of these challenges which we face at the leadership level there. So, data, right? Let's get it straight. We have lots of data, right? Data is in abundance. There is no shortage of data at all, right? When somebody goes and buys the ticket on the primary marketplace, like they go to Yankees.com or Mets.com and buys a ticket, we capture that information, of course, the transaction data. Somebody goes to StubHub, SeatGeek, VividSeat, any secondary marketplace, we capture that data, right? Somebody downloads an MLB app, interacts with all the content we posted there, the articles, the game stories, the app stories, the videos, the highlights, everything is captured there, right? Then you talk about like the merch. Of course, we have a partnership with Fanatics. We get all this transaction data from Fanatics, and we get it back. So marketing data, all the campaigns data, campaign performance data. We put all this data through the APIs to all these marketing platforms. It's all there. Sponsorship data, all the ad impressions, everything is there. Media. When we do this media partnership deals with Apple TV or Roku or Peacock, we broadcast our games on them. We work with those partners. We work with those partners to get the data back from their platform to see understand how the fans are engaging with our content on their platform, how they're watching the games. And of course, we have MLB.TV, our own streaming platform. We use that to kind of like compare how things are being done on MLB.TV versus all these media platforms there. So again, the data is there. There's a lot of data there. It's like kind of like the fan is yelling at us and say, hey, I'm giving you all the signals. Use that and serve me better. It's all about like, now how do we actually, and just one more thing. On top of all this data, we actually work with the partners like Axiom or LiveRamp to actually enrich the data as well, to get more insights about our fans, which we do not get from the first-party data, right? There has been instances where we have been able to uncover a lot of actionable insights where, what are the things which actually drive someone to a baseball, right? What are the things? And of course, we know a good amount of information about our existing fans, but what about the casual fan? The fan, like when we say casual fan, because that's a person or somebody who's still not an MLB ecosystem or still not an MLB fan, but they're like hands away. They're almost there. It's just we need to bring them into our ecosystem, right? There might be signals like they like sports betting. They want to engage with outdoor activities. They want to attend like events like concerts out there. These are all the signals there, right? They like video gaming, right? These are all the kind of signals which we don't capture in our data, but we get all those kind of like information from these partners, which kind of helps us to target those customers and bring them back into our ecosystem there. And the point I want to make here is that data is there, as I said, but it's about connecting the data and getting insights out of it. That's where the point comes in. That's where the real leverage comes in. I give you like an example there, what we have done and done it really well. As I said, we sell a lot of tickets on our primary marketplace, right? Directly from us. You can buy a ticket from us directly. You can go and sell that ticket. You decide not to watch the game, you can go to StubHub and sell that, and somebody else can buy that ticket from you. You can resell the ticket, and you can again resell it, and it can exchange multiple hands. What we did was that back in 22, this is recent, and this is again, think about this thing. We are talking about the biggest revenue generator kind of a work stream for a sports league, and this happened literally 2-3 years back. We decided to kind of have a partnership with these secondary marketplace data providers there and try to bring in all the data into the MLB ecosystem at a centralized place. The challenge was not bringing in the data or doing a partnership. The challenge was more about standardizing the data. Right? The way StubHub kind of like defines a section, row, and seat. Behind a home plate is totally different how we would see just that, or how we do it in the marketplace as well. And how do we kind of like talk a same language there? How do we standardize that? How do we harmonize that data? It took a good amount of time and effort from our side to do that. If Yankees are selling 15 tickets, we call it as a group sale. Mets call like 25 tickets sales as a group sales. The definitions, the KPIs are all over the place. How do we standardize that when we are reporting it back to the leadership there? So we did a lot of that standardization and harmonization, and the results are there for us. At this point of time, we can kind of like track the journey of a ticket from the first-time purchasers to the actually person who scans the ticket and goes to the ballpark. We can track the entire journey because we have the data now, right? And this has uncovered a lot of kind of a potential opportunities for us. Now we know we used to sell tickets earlier behind the home plate for $100, but it's being sold at a second marketplace for on an average of $200. Why to leave money there? Can we adjust our prices there? So all these insights are now available to the teams there because we did all that hard work to bring in the data at a centralized place. And not just ticketing, marketing is getting a benefit out of it. When marketing does a lot of campaigns, they were primarily targeting our primary marketplace. We have to spend money to target and bring fans to the primary marketplace, our own place there, right? Yankees.com and Mets.com and whatnot. But eventually, you get an email from us, we spend money on that, or we show you an ad, you ended up buying on StubHub. So they're making kind of like a ticket sale based on the campaign which we did for them, right? But now with this data which is coming into our ecosystem, we can now understand, we can now track, because we get the data at a customer level. We can know whom we targeted, we know who bought the ticket at what place. We can actually now give more credit to the marketing team, because marketing team now, when they go and talk to the leadership team, they can actually really show the real impact what they're driving based on that. That's, again, a big kind of an unlock for us there. And again, all this insight, because now the data is connected, we are driving all these insights faster, giving back to the stakeholders, they're using it, and it's actually really moving the needle for us. So that's great, and that's the power, right? So it's all about kind of a, again, the data is not a challenge here. It's about how do we actually connect those data points. Once you do that, everything moves faster after that. Okay, I think we touched on this topic a lot in the past. Christoph and Simon, I think, shared some of the stats in the morning, how much the data governance is important. So we talked about it as well. So I just want to kind of hit on it one more time from my side as well. What I have seen when I was kind of working with the data and the sports league side of things. The data management matters. It's very, very important. I think we all know that. When we kind of like working on our BI agent development, this was a use case which we kind of developed to make an agent which is more internal facing, not external fan facing, more like an internal stakeholder facing, so they can go and ask questions about that. And instead of coming to the analytics team, they are self-serve now. So we hit a kind of a roadblock there, right? Because we were not able to kind of train the models because we didn't have the metadata there, right? It was missing both at the table level and the column level, right? That's kind of like stalled our progress, and we have to take an alternate route and whatnot. We eventually reached our goal there, but it took some time for us, and that was a learning for us. Metadata is pretty important. MLB as an organization is very advanced when it comes to technology. They have put a lot of effort on the technology side. They were the first one to build a streaming platform, which they sold to Disney. They built their own streaming platform again. So when it comes to the technology, extremely solid. When it comes to the data and the data management side of things, I think there's an opportunity for us to make some improvements there. Data governance is equal to trust. As Subbu just mentioned, garbage in, garbage out, right? And guess what? When that garbage lands in front of the senior leadership, what happens then, right? The trust is gone, and pretty fast, right? How many times has that happened, right? They get up getting 2 reports with the same KPI and 2 different numbers, right? It happens pretty often, right? That's why putting up those kind of like guardrails around the data, setting those guidelines about how do we actually govern the data. Data is accurate, it's consistent, it's very, very important. And again, if you're not able to do it for the basic data kind of a reporting, think about you going back to the stakeholders and talking about the AI and the AI outputs, what kind of trust you will have with them. They're not going to trust that. And the lesson 3 was about like silos. It kills the speed and the innovation. And when I say silos here, this is not, I'm not talking about the data silo, the example I just gave earlier. The silos I'm referring here is a silo between the business and the technology team here, right? So how many times it happens that business wants to do something different, tech teams have a different vision, we are moving in different paths, end of the day, nothing gets done. Or even if we produce something, it's not being used, right? So it's very, very important that whenever we start doing anything since technology side, it has to be perfectly aligned with the business. It has to be alignment with them. And it's not just about like, I always say this thing, we should do analytics with business, not to the business, right? It has to be along with them. We have to bring them along the journey. And even if we bring them along the journey, they are part of all the strategy sessions, they're part of all the development sessions, whatever we're doing. And even if we produce what we want them to produce or what they want us to produce, we need to drive adoption as well. So many times I've seen that you produce things, it's there, it's as per the alignment, but the adoption part is missing there, right? That's where you need to work with the business as well. Okay, this is what we have produced for you. Let's work it together and let's see how you can use these things. Don't just leave it after producing it. It has to be adopted as well. Adoption is pretty good. And adoption can be done in many ways. You can, of course, you can provide right tools and technologies to them where they can self-serve themselves, or you can sit with them. You can have town halls. You can have those office hours. You can have those sessions. There are many ways to do that, but it's a very important piece there, right? The thing here is that when we talk about data and AI, the way I see this thing is that it's like building a house. So data is your foundation, and anything you do on top of that, like if you're building an AI model, an agent, you're doing all the personalization efforts there, right? I see all these things are like building like a roof or a floor or walls on top of that foundation. Ultimately, you're building a house there. You might get a success. You might be able to live in that house for a year or two, but eventually the cracks will come and the house will fall. So the foundation needs to be solid. It has to be solid. And all these are foundation elements, which has to be solid so that make sure that the house doesn't fall down the line. Okay, some fun stuff there, right? So what kind of AI initiatives which we are doing within sports these days now, right? Again, this is not the complete list. There are many more other things which is happening, but these are some of the prominent ones which is we are doing. And we are seeing results. This is all real stuff. This is not POCs anymore, right? This is real stuff, and we are seeing an impact. I showed you some of the numbers earlier. This is real impact which is happening. Personalized content, right? As I said, the fans are extremely demanding. They need the content right then and there. They need it more personalized, right? And how do we do that, right? Of course, we can do all the surveys and whatnot. But at the end of the day, we need to understand one thing which is we need to understand: our fan is not a fan of MLB. They are fans of a team. They like a player. They don't like MLB. Nobody likes league, right? We're not a fan of IPL. We are a fan of KKR, right? We are a fan of Mumbai Indians there, right? So that's where we need to kind of we have this kind of like AI model which is running in the background, which take all the data signals I just talked about, which we capture from the fans, and we actually predict if they are a fan of a particular team, if they are a fan of a particular player, we call them fan ability models or player ability models. And we use those insights actually to create this kind of like personalized content. We serve them all this content in the MLB app, in the newsletter, on the digital properties, and whatnot. And it's not about just personalizing the content. We're also using AI to actually create the content as well, right? As I said, there is a lot of efforts to grow the game outside of US. So of course, we have to create those content which is native in Spanish or native in Japanese. So those are the kind of like we are using AI to kind of creating those native language content there, right? Both the articles and in terms of the videos as well. We also have this kind of like, and this is a pilot actually going on. I can say it's a pilot right now. We are working with one of the biggest partner we have, technology partners, to actually kind of create, using AI to kind of create in real time a commentary in a different language. So we don't have to hire the commentators for that particular language. We can actually convert, as in happening, in English to a different language altogether. That's the pilot right now, which is going on. So again, there are a lot of things which is happening when it comes to the content. Ticketing. I talked to you about how we're kind of bringing all the ticketing data and kind of like making sense out of it. Because of all that stuff, we are now able to kind of like do a lot of lead scoring. When I say lead scoring, it's more about like helping kind of like teams to understand who has the higher potential to convert from a single game purchaser to a season pass holder. That's what we need, right? We need people to buy season pass because that's where the real money is, right? That 70 million attendance I just shared with you, last year, we were able to kind of like saw a double-digit growth in the season pass holder. Of course, then it has a negative impact on the single game ticket because it cannibalizes that. But eventually, overall, the number of tickets sold were pretty high. Revenue was higher too. All this because of we are now using data, ticketing data in a much more smarter way. Churn reduction, I don't think I need to tell anything about that, but this is something which we're doing and doing really well as well. Again, as I said, it was not being done properly last couple of years, but things have improved a lot. And this is something we are doing a lot to kind of like reduce subscription churn on our MLB.TV side of things too. And this is again, just last year alone, I think it was second year, I believe, after we made modifications to the models and our underlying infrastructure. Yes, it was second year. Just last year itself, in 24, based on this churn reduction, we can directly attribute 3% reduction in churn just because we have these models and we're using the output of the models, which kind of like, if you want to kind of like use in terms of revenue, which is kind of close to 9 mil. Large scheme of things, 9 mil is not a big number there, but when you talk about just one particular area, one particular initiative, one set of AI-driven models there, it's big, and it's real, it's happening. Precision targeting. This is, again, very much focused around how do we reach to our consumers in a much more smarter way. One thing which I learned when I joined MLB was that sports league do not invest a lot when it comes to marketing. They have a very small budget overall. I came from Estée Lauder. I will not take the name there, but just their one brand, one of the biggest brands, and that to just the US market, has a bigger budget than the entire MLB for all 30 major league clubs there. So that's the difference, right? I think that's the mindset. They don't spend a lot on marketing. It's just changing. Marketing budget is increasing every year now. We have seen the increase, at least in the last 3 years, but not a lot. And when you have a small budget overall, then it becomes actually more important how do you use that budget more effectively. That's where we have all this kind of like lifetime-driven model, like lifetime value models there, and we're using that models, output models, to kind of create more targeted segmentation and targeting those fans so that we can optimize our marketing dollars in a more efficient way. Again, these are things all really, it's happening, and it's producing results for us. The next 3 examples, that's the sexy stuff I talked about. I didn't do all that stuff, but this is happening in sports, right? All this stuff happened at a team level. Because I work in the league, so we don't support all these things, but this is something like injury prevention, the player. This is happening at a team level. Mets are doing that. Giants are doing that. Padres are doing that. All this officiating, like automated officiating powered by AI, this is again happening across the board in all sports league there. Seamless stadium access, facial recognition. You go to the ballpark, you use the scanner there, you don't have to scan tickets anymore. Just by your face, you are granted access there. Again, just increasing or enhancing the experience a fan is getting when they go to the ballpark. It's all about fan experience there, right? And then lastly, I just want to hit on quickly on the Gen AI side of things. I'll be very honest, there's not many use cases right now which is happening with the fan-facing use cases of Gen AI. It might change down the line, and I'm pretty sure it will change down the line. But at this point of a time, a lot of Gen AI use cases is more like internal facing. It's more like driving the operational efficiencies within sports league there, right? As I talked about, we have built this kind of an agent for our business stakeholders. Again, they don't have to come to us. You can go and ask simple questions there about ticketing or marketing, and you can get self-serve there. Saves time for us, saves time for them. Things move faster overall, right? We have built this, again, another agent which is helping our legal team. We go through this arbitration process every year when player has to go through the contract and contract renewals there. The legal team goes through this huge amount of long contracts there. We have built this agent so that they can create summaries for those kind of big contracts and help them move things faster there. It's helping legal team there. Small use cases, but producing results there overall. And of course, the technology teams are always using the Chat GPT. We are not. We have some governance there. We don't use Chat GPT here. We are Google Shop. We are authorized to use only Gemini there. So we use Gemini. And that, again, I think we're talking about, should we bring it in-house, or we are doing it in-house? We are bringing the models. We have created our own VPC and building models there as well. So we're using that to for the code generation, for anomaly detection, all that stuff, which is, again, more of like driving operation efficiencies there. Okay, as I wrap up, some final thoughts for you all there. So first, I think we all know this thing. Sorry about that. AI isn't magic, right? It's not like any kind of like a magical spell which you can cast over your business and everything will kind of move faster. Or you will be driving more efficiencies, everything is cheaper, whatever you want, and it provides all the personal experience to your customers or your fans there. It's not a magic, It's like, it's more like you have to kind of work on it. It's a journey. It's something which kind of like you have to be a right partnership with the right stakeholders there, get alignment with them, build the right strategy, you need to have right data foundations. All these things needs to come together. That's when it kind of like works and sync and produce results for you. That's one. Data management and governance isn't it overhead. I think we have heard about it a lot. If you're doing it, brag about it, because not many are doing it, right? And now if they're doing it, maybe they're not doing it efficiently. So again, if you're doing it, brag about it. If you're not, then start doing it. This is very important. This is the foundation stuff. This is the house thing I just mentioned earlier, right? Customers, customers are, as I said, your fans, your customers, they are pretty demanding. The demands are like increasing day by day, and it's changing very rapidly. So you have to adapt to that, right? And the thing I've noticed is that when you talk about your fans, they're not just comparing you to your peers there. It's not that MLB fans compare us to NFL or NBA. They compare us to the likes of Netflix or Spotify, the kind of user experience they're giving it to those people there. So you have to raise your bar, right? You need to know your customer better. And you need to understand what's your version of your fan engagement there, right? And finally, I think I should change that. It's not the next era. It's happening right now. So it's not next. It's the current era, right? It's AI power, right? I mean, again, as everybody knows this thing, AI is there. It's moving, and it's moving at a rapid pace there. The question we need to ask ourselves is, are we ready for it? Do we have the right data foundation for that? Can we use that? And if not, I've seen that the winners in this place are the people who are actually started working on their data foundation and started making changes. People who don't will be left behind. So I have to end this thing with a baseball note, so I'll say it in a baseball way. AI is at the plate, which is coming. It's coming really fast at you, right? Are you ready to swing at it?
All right, thanks, Rohit.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. All right, we're very short on time, so one question. Make it good. And it only can be a one-part question. Sandeep.
On the project that you worked on, how big was the ROI conversation? Was that important for justifying these projects?
Oh, yes. ROI is always an important piece there, right? If you're trying to kind of invest in the churn prevention program there, right? It's always been kind of talked about that, how much time are you investing in that? And what are we going to get out of it, right? So you have to do some kind of like mathematics there, in terms of, okay, like, let me take another example. Maybe that's not a good example there. When we talked about like driving engagements on the digital properties there, that's pretty important for us, right? Driving more traffic. We do a lot of projections there in terms of the traffics on MLB app, on MLB.com. Eventually, driving traffic is what? It's driving engagement there. But how do we actually convert that into the ROI piece there, right? That's how you kind of like use those numbers and then actually work with like driving traffic and engagement to the digital properties, definitely drive MLB.tv subscriptions there, right? It is very important, as you see more traffic there, the people will see more ads. People will see more ads is more impressions, higher CPM there, right? That drives revenue from that aspect as well. So yes, you're right. I mean, of course, whenever we do any kind of like assessment that if we invest in a particular area or not, we do that kind of like mathematical models there and do it directly related to some kind of a dollar value there. Try to understand this is what we are putting in, this is what we're getting back.
Thank you.